As you can see from the screen, I have bought Football Manager religiously every single year since I can remember. It is a game I'm heavily invested in and have spent countless hours, including on screen 1,460 hours on Football Manager 18. A long time. So in this video, I'm going to be going through the latest edition of Football Manager and explaining why you should buy it. Let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be watching this, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. There'll be plenty more Football Manager content coming your way. And today, in this video, we're going to be going through the latest edition of Football Manager FM24. I have thoroughly enjoyed this year's game. I think it is light years ahead of what we've had recently. Let's be honest, the mood coming into this year's game prior to announcements and information that came out from SI, the build-up was quite poor. We weren't expecting an awful lot. We knew that on the horizon FM25 was going to be having these massive changes to the in-game, sort of like the graphics, etc. This year's game didn't really have the hype, but they have delivered. Last year's game, I felt like I don't know about you guys, let me know down in the comment section, but I felt last year's game, I was playing it, but I wasn't really enjoying it. I just didn't get the same enthusiasm from last year's game as what I got from any of the previous versions. Like, I played a few hours of it, don't get me wrong, but it didn't pull me in. I found myself after 2 seasons maybe on each game thinking, no, I need to start again. I'm not enjoying this. Like, there must be a reason why I'm not enjoying this. But with this year's game, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know about you guys, but I am hooked. Like, really hooked. There's a lot of cool features that have been added to this year's game, but the most important thing for me is that the in-game graphics and edits, the in-game graphics of what we see and the actual game are so much better than what we've had in previous years. It is a massive improvement, and I cannot wait to see what they're going to do in next year's one, because that's the one we're all really waiting for. But let's go through some of the other aspects of the game that I have really enjoyed as well. Now, one thing that has really stood out to me is the transfer value. That has got a lot smarter and a lot tighter in terms of the window of potential, from the minimum value to like the highest value. I think in the previous ones that they've done, they massively got it wrong, because you would get some players that were valued at minimum of 5 grand all the way up to 800k. Like, when you're a non-league team, that's really difficult to kind of gauge with. And again, on some players that you're trying to sign in the Premier League, some of the value differences were just absolutely miles off. But with this year's game, they really seem to have nailed it. For example, we've got one on here, Jude Bellingham, between 188 to 205. That's a lot tighter of a window than what we've had in previous years. This for me was a really big bugbear that they needed to fix, and I'm really glad that they have done that. Set pieces is obviously a massive one. I love the way that they've been able to get this part implemented into the game. I have a number of routines set up for this one, and I like the fact that it gives you the options of how often you want to have the set pieces taken as well. So I have my main set piece that I like to play with, and that is the one I say the majority of the times you guys need to do that. And then I have a second and a third backup option, which is just great. This needed a massive overhaul, and the fact that it has been done, it's absolutely superb. So hats off to SI for listening to the community of what they wanted. But this one is an absolute definite advantage. Now, one small thing that I have noticed a massive difference in is actually the balancing and the financial side of it. Now, the predictions on what we saw in previous years, they were so varied. It was never something you could actually sort of like truly actually sort of take seriously and actually listen to and watch. You kind of had to keep an eye on things yourself, because one month it would be that you were going to be hitting all of your financial fair plays. Everything was looking all rosy, everything was great, and then the next month you come back to it and you'd be like, whoa, okay, I've got a massive projection here that shows I'm going to be at a loss, and then next month it'd go back to being you breaking even. It was so wide and varied, whereas with this year's game I think they've actually got it really spot on. It seems to me, and I'm only in January at this point on the game, but it seems to me that this has improved a massive amount. It's only a small thing, but it needed to be done. Now for me, this is the most important feature, and I hope that it comes across when I'm actually recording it, but the in-game graphics this year have taken on such a massive change and overhaul. It just seems far smoother, it just seems more realistic. The changes that are happening in play just seem to be just so much nicer and crisper. But yeah, the actual movement of players and how they kind of Jimmy, you probably saw there with Jadon Sancho, was really clever. But yeah, this needed a big overhaul, and it has taken a massive step forward. And as I said, I cannot wait for the improvements that they're going to make in next year's game. But it just feels so much nicer than what we've had in previous years, and I think they've done a really good job with this. Obviously, the fact that I've beaten Newcastle 5-2 is probably a bit unrealistic, but the actual in-game stuff on that, it's just been absolutely superb. Although having a look at that defending, yeah, that's pretty realistic. For me, this year's game is light years ahead of what we had previously. The small changes that have been done within the game this year have really taken it to the next level, after what personally I felt were years of just stagnation and not really an awful lot changing. I felt like I was just basically buying an update of the game. This time around, the tactics, the match engine, everything about it just feels so much nicer, new features, etc. It just feels like a more complete version of the game, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't get as many hours as I would like to spend on this game, but with what I have done and what I have experienced so far, I'm absolutely loving it, and I can't wait to get stuck into my main save, which I normally do a unemployed journeyman save, which I might be bringing to YouTube. If people want that, let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, like I said, I just think this is a brilliant version of the game, and if anybody is wondering whether or not they should buy it, I highly recommend that you do, and just enjoy the game in its form that it is now before the big changes of next year. Which again, I can't wait to get involved with. But if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment below on some of the features that you have enjoyed in this year's game if you are one of those people that has purchased it. As I said, if you're still sitting on the fence, I would recommend that you buy it. But yeah, until next time, as always on the channel, thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Adios.